Welcome to Seasonal Stays and Campfire Days. I'm your host, Josh.
And I'm Jen, where we talk about seasonal RV camping and RV gear.
Today's topic will be about when you first buy your camper, what equipment and gear you should get.
Getting your first RV or your 10th RV is exciting, but all RVs have one thing in common, and that would be your basic equipment you need from day one.
So, Jen, you remember when we first bought our camper?
Yes. That was a whirlwind.
Yeah, well, at least I kind of had some experience with what we needed when we were buying it, you know, with that bus and everything, and that was a...
Oh, that bus was something else.
So, yeah, some of the... We were just talking about the other day about what equipment and everything that we needed when we first bought the RV, right?
Yes.
And it kind of prompted me to go back into my Amazon and take a look at exactly what we bought for our camper. Now, our camper, we bought it brand new in 2022, and it's not our first camper, technically, because we had the bus.
Yes.
And yeah. I borrowed plenty of campers from other people, so I was, I was already pretty much well-versed in RV camping.
Fifth wheel, a hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but after learning stuff about that and getting rid of all my RV stuff from the bus, we got ourselves a Keystone Springdale. It's a big camper. And eventually we'll talk about how we've pulled it and that kind of stuff. But that's for another episode. But we will be talking about one thing about towing, and that would be the hitch. But that's going to be later in this episode. So, but just kind of going through the Amazon list of the orders of what I had gotten, like this kind of a list of what we ended up purchasing pretty much right away. So,
yes.
The first one that I saw on there, the first thing that I bought from the first order was the wastewater, the tank treatment systems, and you probably ended up noticing a pretty big difference with it because it did actually.
The one that takes the odor away, right?
Yeah.
And it worked very well.
Well, at the time, I just thought that was the one that worked the best. But I also didn't know that one was the one that just took away the odor. Now, we're talking about the Camco TST Ultra. It was the concentrate stuff. And we just bought the little like 8-pack bottles of it. I think they were like 8 ounces or whatever. And we would use like one bottle of it for the tank. But eventually we ended up getting the bigger one. And that one lasted for quite a while. But at the time, I was thinking that was actually like breaking everything down, So, I don't know, what are your...
Right, but it helped a lot with odor, though, because I never smelled anything.
Yeah, and I think it comes
when that was in there.
I think it comes in 2 different scents and everything, too.
Now, did you put it in there when we would go back to our site in the beginning, or did you do that when we were shutting down the camper until we returned the following weekend?
Well, I would do that. That'd be like one of the first things that I did.
When we got there.
When we got there.
Okay.
Yeah. Because ideally you would get there with an empty tank. So you just put that in there, and as you're using the toilet, then it starts working its way in and kind of keeps the smells down.
Yeah.
On it.
No, it absolutely did.
But
I mean, it was great for that.
But
you didn't smell anything.
No, but now having in our spot now, because originally when we bought the camper, we had a piece of property that we were going to put it on up north in Wisconsin, and that was completely boondocking.
Yeah.
There. So we were looking at tank treatment systems and how to dump it and everything else. At that, we weren't completely boondocking because we did have water, and we were able to run electrical, which we'll talk about electrical and dog bones and all that stuff a little bit later in this episode. But with the like dumping the tanks and everything, that was a pretty big challenge too. And this is why when like in our situation now, we got the honey wagon come by once a week because we don't have an RV,
Right.
like the
Yeah. We're not
wastewater.
hooked up to sewer or anything there, but
No, and we ended up moving our trailer to a seasonal site that's a lot closer to our house. But yeah, all we have there is electrical and water. So we started looking into different treatments, which which one are we using now? We're using the Unique RV Digest It, the Plus. And I've tried the packets or those pods,
yeah.
and I've tried the liquid form on it.
And they're both of Unique
It's
RV.
the same. It's the same thing.
Okay.
It's just one is in a pod form, and the other one is in liquid.
Now, when you had dumped the tanks, did you see any difference in what you were seeing coming out
Oh yeah.
of there?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There's a massive difference between those.
pods and the liquid?
Well, no, not so much. Not so much as that. I mean, there was a little bit of a difference. Like I would definitely prefer the liquid version over the pods.
Okay.
Because then, like the proper way to go and put any
Is
of
it
this
because
stuff
you're
in.
dumping more
Well, no.
liquid than what the one pod will do?
Well, no,
or-
no. What you're doing is like I think it says on the directions or something that you gotta. It's like one capful or something per.
Right.
I don't know. I don't have the thing pulled up, but
Yeah.
usually I would just do like a capful in when I would first, like when we first got to the campground. But
And is the water off while you're doing this?
no, the thing
Okay.
is, so like you would fill the toilet up, right? You fill the
Okay.
bowl up, and as it's filling, you just dump the cap in. Now it's all in the bowl, in
So
the water.
You fill it up with water and you dump the cap in to the toilet bowl itself.
Yeah, while it's filling.
Okay.
That way then it's all nice and kind of, dispersed in there, and then you flush it, and then you should be good to go for a while because that stuff it's pretty potent.
Right.
But with this other stuff, I figured out that it was just a deodorizer. So I was using a lot more than normal, but in the situation that we were in up north, or way up north, because we weren't hooked into a sewer system either. We ended up pumping it into a septic tank with a macerator pump.
Yes.
And the thing is, with the difference between the TST and this Unique RV, is the TST stuff that I found out didn't break anything down. So those I would have to shut the valve off because the macerator pump would get clogged up, and then you got to take that whole thing apart, and now there's sewage spilling all over the place, and then
Yeah.
you got to reach in there with your hand and pull all, the everything out, and then put it back on,
And
start
you did
again.
this when I wasn't looking, because
Well, yeah, you only
I-
experienced a tank dump once.
oh man, that was something else too.
So,
Oh boy.
but the difference though that I did see, because we ended up pulling our camper back up to northern Wisconsin, like a month ago at this point? Maybe a little bit more than a month ago?
I want to say it was. Let me think.
Because at
We're
that
in
point,
September now. Yeah, it was the beginning of August.
yeah, so at that point the camper didn't move since last June or July when we
Right.
brought it out there to the campsite.
Yeah.
And we started using the Unique RV, and when I did a tank dump without the macerator pump, at that point, we already got the stinky slinky and all that other stuff, and on our
Yeah.
way back we stopped over at that Pilot, and we used the dump station there, and a lot of stuff was broken down. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a lot easier. You could see, because one of the things that this is another thing that would be like in our RV essentials day one equipment is a clear elbow to put on the on that I think they call it a bayonet or something. I don't know the exact terminology on it, but where you plug into your hose in.
Right.
And that's just so that you can look at it, because everyone wants to look at what's coming out of your black tank.
Yeah. Everybody.
Everyone loves it.
I'm sure.
So, you go and you're watching everything come out, and you could physically see a difference. in it. And then because we haven't been able to do a tank dump in a long time,
Yeah.
or like
But
really
the
get
the unique RV stuff though, it's good for breaking down, but it necessarily didn't work good as a deodorizer though.
yes and no.
Can you use both the, what do you call it, the TST and the unique RV?
I do.
The TST is a deodorizer and the unique RV as a breakdown. You can use them together, right?
I haven't seen any harmful side effects from using both. The only thing,
Right.
now we just, because we use the orange scent for it, then it just smells like more orange
Right.
than nothing. So
Yeah.
there's at least a little bit of deodorizer in there, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen any difference. Once I started using the unique RV, that's when I noticed the big difference in how easy it was to dump the tank. And
Right.
I mean, there's a big controversy too between using the unique RV or something that breaks down the solid waste as much as it does, because they say that it leaves like a sludge on the bottom of the tank, which then it becomes like almost like a peanut butter type of thing.
Yeah, but then that's when you go in and you do tank maintenance and you put the hose through and
See, but the thing is, when you're using your black tank, though, the main thing is you use water. Use
Right.
plenty of water, and you won't have as many issues.
yes.
So that's what I've noticed on it, was that really we haven't had any issues with using
Yeah.
it. And then when we did go to that pilot, we spent about 45 minutes to an hour sitting there at that dump station because no one
Yeah.
else was dumping there. I don't think it's a really big known place for RVers to go there.
Right. No, it was mostly a truck stop, really.
But,
I mean, we saw maybe a few tour buses pull through, but it's mainly a truck stop there.
and tour buses
So.
don't use those either.
Right.
Or at least
Wait,
I
they
didn't.
don't? What do they use, though? Because they have tanks, too.
That's the roadside dump.
Oh, my gosh.
When I was driving
Oh,
the tour
boy.
bus, you remember I used to tell you I would be on the phone with you, just pull off on the exit when.
So was that whole thing with Dave Matthews Band when they dumped into the Chicago River?
Now I don't know
Or
exactly.
was that an accident?
I don't.
Because
don't-
they
I
were
don't
just
think-
recently celebrating the anniversary of when apparently the Dave Matthews Band had
but I
their
don't-
tour bus had dumped a load of
I don't. I don't think that was
everything from the tanks into the river somehow. So I don't know
don't-
if that was like accidental or
No, I don't think that
on purpose.
I don't think that was accidental.
I didn't look into it. It was just the anniversary, and they were celebrating it.
I don't think that was a accidental thing.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, when you're going over the bridges and stuff, there, it's not like you can really see what's underneath it at that moment either. Because it dumped on that.
Okay, wait,
boat.
I could be thinking of this wrong, but I feel like it dumped on a boat with passengers on it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So,
And it was like an open top
but
boat.
was it
and
like in the
everything.
middle of the day or something? Because I know those boat rides don't go super late, or was it just later in the evening? And
I have no idea. That was a while ago.
yeah,
I
see, I
don't
don't know
remember.
the full story. I just, I see headlines on it, and I see like, oh, they just recently celebrated the anniversary, but I don't know the full. Like, was it intentional or did something happen? Like, I don't know, is it possible for a tank to just like explode out the side and it goes over and
Well, not.
I don't think so.
Usually not on a tour bus. Usually not on a tour bus. Which I have a story for that, but I'm not going to say that now.
yeah, we'll get it another time. I'm
Yeah.
like going off subject here.
Well, that's fine. I mean, we're just talking at this point about black tanks, everyone's favorite topic.
Yeah.
So yeah, so now we've covered the chemicals, or at least the chemicals that I use, and I really haven't used any other chemicals.
Right.
I don't even think I used a TST with the tour buses when I was driving the tours, the bands, because I just used it as a deodorizer, and it worked pretty well. And then I never put anything else in I just tried the unique RV, and I was happy with it, so I didn't try anything else.
But if you were just using the unique RV when you were at the band, because like how many were there in that bus?
I didn't use the unique RV with it.
Okay,
It
so
was
you're
just
talking
a
about the
TST.
TST.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know that works well as a deodorizer.
As a deodorizer, that's exactly what I used it for because I would dump the tank every single night. There was
Right.
8 of us in that
Okay,
bus.
so there was 8. Wow.
Yeah, there was 8 of us in that bus at a single time.
How big of a tank was that, though?
I think it was probably between 40 and 50 gallons.
Okay.
But you have to remember too, it's not just a tank that went in there; it was also the shower. Yeah, it was just the shower and that
that all went into
one tank
the same tank.
into the
so
same
they didn't
tank.
have like. There's not the separate tanks like there is.
No, there's no gray tank.
Okay.
It's only a black tank. They
Oh.
make it easy.
So that's why. But is that part of the reason why you had to dump it every night then?
yeah, with 8
It
people.
was just getting filled that quickly.
Well, yeah, think about it. Everyone's getting drunk,
Yeah.
and they're all using the bathroom,
Well, they're all taking showers too.
and they're all taking showers.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think we had at least 100 gallons of fresh water on board because the
Right.
sinks, the sinks that was on it would just go straight onto the ground because technically gray water can just be dumped onto the ground.
Right.
So, and especially if there really isn't anything in it, like you're washing your hands, brushing your
Yeah.
teeth or something, you could do that outside. I mean, technically, I guess you could take a dump outside, but you know. Okay, we should probably move on a little
Yes.
bit because we could talk about this for an hour. So, talked about the stinky slinky is definitely something that that you should definitely get. We waited for it because we never used it, or we never would have used it until
What
this.
is the proper name for?
It's a sewer hose.
Okay, so that's what the Stinky Slinky is, a sewer hose.
It's a sewer hose.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
Is that what you attach the poop blender to?
no, the poop blender. That's the macerator pump.
Okay.
I hooked that up to a 3/4 inch garden hose. So it was a bigger diameter to flow better. And I had 200 feet of that hose to go and pump it into that septic tank. So that way then, because we weren't even close to a dump station.
Okay.
And plus we got our RV stuck. Mm-hmm. So we couldn't move it anyways, even if
that
we wanted
was
to.
such. Wow. That was such a soft spot. I can't believe how deep. The wheels went in.
Yeah,
And then the truck. And then that big tractor that came.
you had to try and pull it out.
That couldn't
with
get
us
it
and-
out.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So long story short, we had to wait until the ground froze for someone to come by. How long later did they go and pull it out? Like how many?
Well, let's see. We brought it up there Thanksgiving, and then we pulled it back out in June.
But their winter lasted through May.
and there was like 3 feet of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
So it was just
So
completely
the winter
messed up.
lasted through May, and the ground was actually frozen in the middle of May. I remember this because I remember talking to my mom, and winter did not stop up there.
Yeah.
And it was after my birthday that she was telling me, she's like, we're at 10 degrees this week. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, hey, the ground's frozen. We're able to pull it out.
Yeah. Okay, so now we talked about that stuff.
Yeah.
we went on quite the tangent. We're almost 20 minutes into this already. So the other thing then too is because we're gonna be talking more of the seasonal type of camping, not pulling the camper around all over the place type of things. Our trailer is a destination style trailer, so
Yeah.
we're not really pulling it around too much. But so for its sitting, tire covers.
Yeah.
Not only does it make it look better, especially at the campground when you're sitting on a seasonal site, and we didn't have a deck for a very long time on it. Well, I mean, a very long time. It was about a year until we actually put something on it.
Right.
But
Well, it wasn't until the following season, essentially.
wasn't until the
Because
following
we came
season.
in mid-season the year prior.
that we did. But it makes it look better with it, and it also protects the tires from dry rot.
Yes.
So I mean, tire covers, even the spare tire on the back has a tire cover on it, which that should be
Right.
You know, they're very inexpensive anyways for it. So that's a side note on that one, and then the water filters. Water filters are. Oh, actually, you know what? Before we talk about water filters, because we'll probably end up going on a tangent with that too.
Yes.
Drinking safe water hoses.
What's the
Drinking-
difference between?
You remember just going outside? And
Yeah.
you remember how a
Yeah,
garden
with,
hose
with
tastes?
the regular garden hose. I mean,
Yeah, you remember how that used to taste? You would get like the garden hose taste to it.
yeah,
Yeah, with the
it essentially tastes like it was still coming out of pipe.
well, there's some chemicals and stuff that they use in there that make the water taste a certain
Yeah.
a different way, and it's technically it's not safe, but so they make RV drinking water hoses, so there's no taste to it whatsoever. They don't use the same chemicals to make the hoses, and there's multiple different brands of hoses and all that stuff. But I think I just used the Camco. I've been using the Camco one for years.
It's a Camco.
It's just a Camco. It's a white and blue hose. They're very
And
popular.
what exactly? Their Camco freshwater hose? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's just a freshwater hose. It's just drinking safe freshwater hose. It just makes sure that there's no extra chemicals in it, and there's no taste or anything besides the actual what the water tastes like. So that's something that you definitely would need, because I mean, even if you're trying to boondock somewhere or you're trying to go somewhere, you want to use one of those hoses to even like just fill up your freshwater tank.
Right.
Then there's nothing just sitting in there. But so the water or the drinking water safe hose, and the one we use is the Camco. It's the white and blue one. There's mixed reviews on Amazon on it about some of them like leaking or anything, but I've never had an issue with it. I've been using
And you're
it.
talking about it's that white one we have, right?
Yeah, the big white one.
Okay.
Yeah. And I use those for even on tours
Yeah.
to go fill the buses up and fill up our bus when we had that, and so, but that would also segue into a water regulator, a pressure regulator. Now at our campground, we don't have the best water pressure. We're kind of towards the end of the
Right. We're all the way at the end of the campground where.
we're at least
Yeah.
the end of the water line for the campground. So we don't have a lot of water pressure on it. Like, we still put a water pressure regulator on it just in case if it's spiked up for whatever reason. Then it's gonna not allow a certain amount of water pressure inside the camper and blow all the lines.
Right.
But ours is sitting at like 40 psi, which is a little bit lower. But that's also why we'll fill up our water tank.
Yeah.
So then, like, when we're taking a shower or something, we just flip the water pump on. Now we got like 60, 70 psi or whatever it's set at. So the water pressure regulator is definitely a must, especially if you're going from campground to campground, because there's some, like, I think it's like 60 psi that they start to warn you about. Yeah, it's the hoses or the plumbing
Right.
inside the camper might fail. But some of these campgrounds, they could be at 100, 110 psi. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't even have that in our house coming
Right.
from the city.
Why is it so amped up though? The water pressure, like why? What's the reason for that?
Well, it depends. It's just probably the water pump that they're using, or because you have to think they're supplying this massive complex of all these RVs. If everyone
Right.
turns the water on at the same time, they have to go into, they have to supply water somehow.
So is that like a situation of like where we're at in our campground? Like, okay, so we're like further away from where the water supply would come from. Now, does that mean anybody that's closer to where the water supply is coming from, then they're going to be hit with that 100?
No, because I've talked with the owner of the campground.
Yeah.
And In this situation, no, because he has it set lower
Right.
there, so it really won't affect. So
Yeah.
you could be right next
Well, I
to the
know
pump.
he said
and-
he has it set lower too, so people don't have this situation happening or ruining anything internally.
yeah, it's just like a just in case
right.
type of situation. So, yeah, that's what he does. So, which I'd rather, if it was me, I would ramp it up a little bit more and then just have the campers put on a regulator. A regulator is not that expensive either. I mean, all the stuff that we're suggesting with this it's not expensive. So between $20 and $40,
Right.
until we talk about the hitch.
Yeah.
But
But our filter though,
yeah. So the next thing would be the filter.
yeah, our filtration is fantastic. Our campground has very hard water.
Yes, it has hard water. It is filtered though.
It is filtered.
It is
but
filtered.
That filter we have on there, it's fantastic. I can't believe what it keeps out of our water.
Yeah, so what we have is we have a two-stage filtration.
Right.
We're using the Clear 2O water filters. We use the big 20 micron filter
Yeah.
that's on it, and then there's the inline that's like a 1 micron filter.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the salt being so high, I would feel safe drinking the water. That
Right.
just comes right out the tap
Yeah.
of the RV. But because of the salt in the water from the water softener, then you can have some issues with it. So I wouldn't recommend doing
Yeah.
that. But yeah, whenever I go and I change the filters out, especially the one is supposed to be washable, which is that 20, the big one. But even with a filtered water supply and the softened water, there's still a ton of rust.
I mean, it's dark orange.
I mean,
when we take it out,
We put
and
it in
can't-
white, and
Yeah.
we take it out where it looks like it just got rusty.
100% very dark orange. And remember, because they said it's washable, we actually went and tried.
We tried, but
and
we
it's-
couldn't get any of it
and
out.
that's the thing, like, it's stained beyond. You can't get any of it out. So it's also like, do you really want to go ahead, even though yes, it's washable, but it's still dark orange. You still don't want to go put that back on.
No, and they depending on how bad the water is, that's when you need to change it. The only
Right.
thing that I wish that we would end up doing, which I think at some point I'm going to do it, is put in a filtration where I'll buy canisters like the home canisters,
Right.
and it's clear. That way you can look into it and see what you're picking up, when they need to be changed, because a rule of
Yeah.
thumb is about 6 months, about 3 to 6 months to go and change it, and that's a
Yeah.
pretty regular use. But even with us going up there, on a weekly basis or up on
Yeah.
a every other weekend type of deal, that still comes back super rusty, and it's just
And that's within
that's
3
only-
months, and we're not running it constantly.
yeah.
Like, there's people that stay there all season.
But think about if we didn't
And-
have the filters
right.
on there. What I mean, we've gone into some of the other campers
Yeah.
out there, and you can see that there's rust or
Yeah.
the
But that's
whatever
not just
that
at
water
our
line is.
campground.
No, I mean,
The
that's
other
everywhere.
one that's not so far from us either. There's so many people that have campers and they don't have a filtration system. Like, okay, I get it, you're not drinking the water, but everything is
But
just
you have to-
stained. The toilet's stained, the sinks are stained, and then you have that smell from the hard water.
Well, it's well water.
Yeah.
A lot of the campgrounds have well water.
Right.
Unless if you're in like a really nice, place that has city water and everything. Like, oh yeah, great. But most campgrounds are going to have well water.
Yeah.
So you're going to have that rust, and you're going to have all that stuff, and you want to protect everything, like your whole investment of buying a camper. Because the more stuff that you let through, the more often you're pretty much going to have to change something, or something's going to fail.
Yes.
Yeah,
that is
plus
true.
then it's easier to clean everything, and when you have less contaminants and everything in it. And I think
Right.
I don't know if I've done I don't think I did a water test on it, but I can do a water test and see exactly what's in the water, like before and after the filtration. Especially because we're about due to replace our filters.
Yes, that we are. When was the last we were? It was just 3 months ago.
It was July.
Oh,
I changed.
so yeah,
I changed it at the beginning of the season when it first opened, and in July, and then
August, September. It's not exactly 3 months yet, but we're almost getting there.
yeah. So, but you have to think about you gotta protect
I mean,
everything.
the 2-stage is great. It takes out the smell. It our
And that's the other thing too, because of the smell and everything. A lot of people, they use that little cylinder, the inline filter that's after that big
right.
thing on top. A lot of people use something similar to that, and it's blue. It's from Camco as well, because this is also Camco, the Camco Clear 2.0 so the Clear H2O or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
But they also make this one, and it's blue. It's not the green one that we use. The blue one has these little pellets
yes.
in of the carbon. We have a solid carbon block. So the carbon block is going to force the water to go actually through the carbon compared to those little pellets that will just kind of get out of the way.
Those pellets, after they get out of the way, is this then what's moving into that white cylindrical filter?
No, it's completely the opposite. Most people don't have that bigger thing.
Okay.
So what happens is that the water goes through that bigger cylindrical 20 micron filter.
Okay.
The one that turns red with the rust, and then it goes through that inline filter, that real skinny one.
Okay.
After
and then that is what is going from that glass filter is going into the camper.
And then that's what's going into the camper.
Okay.
After that.
All right, that makes sense.
So, okay, so then we pretty much covered water then. We got sewer. We got water. I'm getting to that too. I'm kind of jumping. That's the drinking water. So, I guess then we can go into electrical a little bit.
Yeah.
Most campers are going to come with whatever electrical cord that they need, whether it's a 30 amp or 50 amp or whatever.
Right.
So going to different campgrounds or just moving around, going to different campgrounds, you can encounter 15 amps, you can encounter 30 amps, you can encounter 50 amp, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, one of the things that you can do is get a dog bone.
And what's the dog bone?
Well, the dog bone, like for our camper, is a 50 amp camper. Okay. So if we were at a campground that only supplied 30 amps, it basically will take that 50 amps and make it into a 30 amp plug so we can use it. But now we're limited to what we can actually use.
Okay.
So
now what you're calling a dog bone, is the whole plug that goes into our electrical unit? That's what is the dog bone, right?
Yeah, so you got your cord, and then there's a dog bone is an adapter. So you plug your cord into this adapter.
Oh, all right.
So like with us, we have a 50 amp cord because we have a 50 amp camper. We have a 50 to 30 amp adapter. And then we have, instead of going from 30 to 15, I just have a 50 amp to 15 amp.
Okay.
And that one just plugs into the side of the camper where the big cord for the 50 amp goes in.
Okay.
But instead, I'll just run just a thick extension cord out there. But that's also very limiting to what we can run. Like one air conditioner or like the microwave can only be run. One of those appliances can only be run at the same time.
And you're
On a
talking
15.
about in an instance of,
That's on a 15.
okay,
That's true for any camper. Even if
Right.
you have a 30 amp camper and you drop it down to 15, if you have an air conditioner and a microwave, you can't run both at the same time.
yes.
Or like if you have the air conditioner and a hair dryer, you can't run both of those at the same time. Or the microwave and a hair dryer or
Right.
something, or and a toaster. You know,
But
it's
it's
one.
like very rare that anyone's going to end up at a campground where they're plugging into a 15 though.
Yeah, that's more of like a boondocking
Okay.
or like mooch docking sort of situation.
Right.
So like if you're
So they go to a family member that has land to park their camper and
and all they
essentially
have
plugging in an extension cord from
like
their
a
garage
garage
to the house.
yeah, something like that, just so
Okay.
you have basic power.
Okay.
So yeah, dog bones would definitely be a must in any situation. You know, and definitely get at least if you have a 50 amp camper, go from 50 to 15 at least, because you'll be able to find a 15 amp pretty much anywhere.
Right.
It's harder to find a 30 amp depending on if you're just going to like a family member's house. They're most likely not going to have a 30 amp receptacle or even a 50. So but
Right.
they'll most likely have they'll have a outlet in their garage that you can plug into.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would say with the dog bones. But then with the dog bone situation or just any power, definitely an EPO, an emergency power off. And that's the reason why I'm saying EPO, because there's a couple different ways to say it. It's because we have the Power Watchdog,
Yes.
and that's the EPO plus it's a surge protector. And that has helped us in many situations.
It did very often.
And it's caught things of a lot of low voltage. We have had a couple surges because, especially with how many storms and stuff came through the campground this year and last year,
Yeah.
we're pretty
Yeah,
close.
that tornado was really close last year.
Well, yeah, there were 3 tornadoes.
Yeah.
I think that we went through. One of them, we
Yeah.
lost power for 3 days, and thank God that we had solar to run, and just the small solar just to run basic stuff. But then we ended up having to go grab the generator
Right.
because we have the residential fridge, which that
Yeah.
only runs off of 120. If it was one of the 12-volt fridges, we would still have to find a way to get power because we only have 200 watts of solar. That's what came
Yeah.
with the camper. So, but definitely an EPO, and I would highly recommend the Power Watchdog
Yeah.
for sure. I've recommended it to so many people, and just the last time that we were over at the campground, some of our friends, for their camper, they just bought one. They have a 30 amp camper, so they bought the 30 amp version of the same Watchdog that we have, and they caught stuff too that would have pretty much ruined their stuff. I mean, the way that I looked at it, and the Watchdog is not cheap. You know, there's 2 things on this whole list that we came up with that is not cheap, and that's the Watchdog and the hitch.
How big of a difference is it between the 30 and the 50 amp though?
I'm not sure. I can take a look at it quick though. Let's see. But it's not I mean the thing is when
But it's worth getting though. Like we haven't had any issues with it. If anything, it's alerted and let us know because there's an app that it operates off of as well.
Yeah. And it gives you warnings. You can look up the warnings and you can look everything up directly on the app. It will tell you like your line voltage, how many amps that your camper's pulling, and I mean Are you gonna actually look? Oh, it's waiting.
Oh, it doesn't want to work right now.
Yeah. Oh, it's just thinking a little bit, but. So let's see. Right now, as I'm pulling it up on Amazon. So this is the same one that we have. It's Power Watchdog PWD 50 EPO. And there's a Bluetooth surge protector with auto shut off. And this is the portable one, so this is not the hardwired one. This is the one you plug in directly into the pedestal at the campground, and then you plug your
Right.
cable into it.
Yes.
It's going right now for $303 right now. So it's a little bit more on the expensive side, but if you think about it, how much is it to go and replace a refrigerator?
Oh yeah.
Or how much is it to go and replace an air conditioner? I mean,
Right.
and an RV air conditioner right now for a 15,000 BTU, I think the GEs, which are the ones that we have, are going for almost $1,200 a
Right.
piece.
So this is worth it to protect everything
Absolutely.
in the camper.
Absolutely. And the thing with the Watchdog too, with the surge protector, is that you can replace the surge module in it. It's $50 for the surge module. So when I bought
And the surge module is in
it's
the
inside,
Watchdog.
it's in the Watchdog.
Okay.
So that module is $50. And when I bought the Watchdog itself, I also went and I bought an extra surge modules. That way then, you know, it won't shut itself off. Mm-hmm. Like what happens is in the auto shut off feature is like if you have too low of line voltage
Right.
or too high of line voltage or the hertz isn't correct on it or something's off with it, it automatically shuts down the camper and will not allow power to go through at all. So that's how it saves everything. And then there's a 2 or 3 minute cycle that it waits because it's thinking that your air conditioners are on. You don't want to restart the air conditioners you don't want to hard start them. Otherwise, then bad things happen.
Yeah.
So it already has a waiting feature on it to power it back on, but it's constantly testing. So as soon as it sees that, yeah, it's fine, it does its wait, and then it powers back on. With the
Okay.
surge, it doesn't do that because technically a surge is just a extra volt or extra electricity running
So
through
it's
it.
just, what is it doing then with the surge then? It's just protecting it from.
It's protecting it from an over voltage real quick, like a pulse
Okay.
running through it. So there's like these little capacitors in there and they blow, one at a time. And there's a whole bunch of them. You can take a bunch of shocks from it and still be okay. But then when it's done, it'll still allow power to go through, but you got to go replace the module
Right.
in it. So, but Power Watchdog is the only company that allows you to go and buy that module by itself. Otherwise, then, if that module wasn't,
So all the other EPO.
all the other ones that are on the market right now, you cannot replace anything on it.
Oh, that's interesting.
If the surge goes out, you could buy a new one.
Okay.
So if Power Watchdog does the same thing, so like what we were talking about, I said I did it for the 50. I pulled up the 32 for the price. Right now, Amazon for Power Watchdog, the 50 amp EPO is $300, $303.01, and the 30 amp model of the portable, because there's two different models too, and we can get into that on a different day. Because I can talk about these for hours.
Right. Yes, that you can.
The 30 amp model is $245. And
Okay.
I only know for the 50 amp. I don't know if the 30 amp is the same module, which I would assume it's not because it's a 50. Well, no, it would be because it's all 128 AC. So I'm assuming that the module for it would be the same, so it's 50 amps. There. Power Watchdog from Hughes Autosformers, 50 amp replacement for the surge protector, 50 amp, $38.80 for that board. And it's a plug and play thing. It's like 4 screws and then it just pops in and out. That's it.
Right.
Real simple. Yeah, okay, so the 30 amps, it is different, but it's $30 for it.
Okay.
So I think it's definitely worth looking into with that.
No, it absolutely
You
is.
don't have to do it, but now you're risking stuff, and
Yeah.
especially if you bought like a brand new RV, why would you want to risk all that? Warranty stuff
Right.
might, if you got warranties, they might not cover stuff like that.
Well, and it depends on the warranty, and they're also the warranties are so short lived.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have warranties on those like you would on a new car.
Yeah. So that's what I think I did. So, but it's saved us before, and I'll stand by it. I'll buy multiples of these over again.
Right.
You know, if we ended up buying another camper, this is staying with us. It ain't going with this one.
Absolutely.
So, the last thing then that we would, there's two things that are on here, but they kind of go together too. So the last topic would be towing. You know, so we got
towing.
So we got the stuff for water, we got electrical, and we have our sewer. The three big things, just to get started on it.
Right.
So, and I'll go through the list too at the very end before we're done. And then, because I know there's been about 45-ish minutes, 45, 46 minutes on here.
Right.
So we've gone over a lot of information.
So the hitch that we have, why did you choose that hitch?
So the hitch that I chose was the Anderson style hitch. The reason why I did that was because of our towing situation. We tow our camper with an F-150. It's the bigger one, so whatever the bigger cab is, it's got the 6.5 foot bed on it, but our camper is 38 feet long. And
Right.
I know a lot of people.
But it's the 3.5 twin turbo.
Well, it's a 3.5 twin turbo, but there's a
Yes.
lot of people that would think that we are dumb for doing
Right.
that.
But that's a conversation for another time for experience towing.
Yes.
We'll delve into that
Yes.
another time.
Yeah. So, but that's the situation that we are in with ours, which we ended up specking out our camper specifically for that truck to pull that camper safely, and part of that specking is the Anderson hitch, because we go with one of the bar style hitches.
Yeah.
It becomes the hitches that I've used that are like that. Even a small camper on the back of that truck, it bounces. It bounces like crazy. And the Anderson hitch basically has these dampeners in it that keep everything nice and taut, so you have your weight distribution. And then it also has a sway control feature that's built into the hitch at that point. And it's quiet. It takes the bounce out a good majority amount. I mean, we get a little bit of bounce. I mean, a couple times.
Very little compared to what.
Well, that one hybrid one that we pulled
Yeah.
with the truck, and that was it was a Rockwood Roo hybrid, and it was a really small trailer, but it had the bar system on it, and that thing bounced like crazy.
It did.
I don't know if it's
Much smaller and much lighter than ours even.
Now, I don't know if that hitch was oversized for it, because with those hitches, you have to be like right on with your hitch weight, your tongue weight,
Yeah.
or your hitch and tongue weight's the same thing, but and your your overall weight. So I didn't really like it. Plus, they're noisy.
Yeah.
And they're very difficult to back up with. You're really not supposed to be backing up with them. But with the Anderson hitch,
You're not supposed to be backing up with.
with that style, that's the bar type. But with the Anderson hitch, it's quiet. There's really no adjustments to it. It has sway control on it, which it actually works better than the F-150's automatic, or
Right.
the electronic one. I actually turn
Yes.
off the electronic sway control on the truck, so that way then it doesn't fight the Anderson hitch.
Yeah.
And you can back up with it. And it's super easy to take on and off. I mean, it takes about 2 or 3 minutes to hook everything up.
Yeah, it is very cool.
And then, and it's light, which, especially in our situation, because we do push the F-150 a little
Yes.
bit. We're on the upper limits of what it can do. So those bar style hitches weigh a lot. This is at least half, If not, it's a quarter of the weight
Yes.
of it, and it's a heavy duty hitch. I mean, I got a 14,000 pound hitch, which is overkill for it, but this is so adjustable that you can do something like that. That way, then, like later when we go and eventually go and upgrade the truck into an F250 or F350, then we can still move this hitch over, and then go get a bigger trailer, or a heavier one, or whatever it is, at some point. But so that's my thing with the hitch, and that's one of the things that you don't cheap out on. I think when I bought it, I think it was about $600, $600 to $650
Right.
for it, but it was worth every penny.
Well, I remember when we were buying our camper, the sales guy was showing us their hitches, and you were just like, "No, I'm gonna get the Anderson hitch," and even they were like, "That is the best hitch you can get."
Hmm. Yeah, even when my parents bought their camper,
Yes.
when I pulled their camper with the F-150, we used the Anderson hitch with it, and even the salesman, when they got the warranty work done on it, even the salesman there was even like, "I love these hitches. I will
Yes.
recommend these
No, absolutely.
all day."
They're fantastic.
So the last thing that we should get then, when you're done towing, is wheel chocks.
Yes.
Absolutely
Yeah,
need
that's
wheel chocks,
necessary.
because what's holding your camper except for friction
Right.
at that point? So definitely wheel chocks, and you don't have to get the expensive ones. We went to Harbor Freight and picked up some truck wheel chocks for about $5 a piece at the time. I don't know how much they are now, but they're real cheap. Definitely need those.
Now, do you think people with... So what about extra stabilization?
So, well, right now it's just this episode's more just to get going.
Right.
We can go and do a whole episode on stabilization, because now you can start talking about X chocks, and then you start, which are not chocks. As even though it says X chocks, they are not chocks.
Right.
But then there's different ways to stabilize things. There's DIY methods and all this other stuff, and we've done it with our trailer, and we're pretty rock solid
Yes, we
with
are.
it. So we can do an episode just on that, So, but okay, so I'm just gonna rattle off real quick that whole list, since we went through the stuff that we would think that
Yes.
it would be a very necessary thing to have. So you can use the Camco TST Ultra. That's the chemical for the Blackwater tank. And use that just more of a deodorizer than actually getting everything broken down. What I use, if you want to go and break it down, again, is that Unique RV, the Digest It Plus. We've had very good, very, very good luck with that. And then a clear 45-degree elbow to put on the tank dumps, and use that
Yes.
both with the black and grays and everything. Definitely want to get a sewer hose or the Stinky Slinky. Tire covers for when you're parked. The Clear 2.0 water filters. If you're not going to get the 2-stage filtration like what we have, at least get the inline with and the green one, not the blue one. The green one has the big carbon block in it, so that will definitely be a lot better. It's a little bit more expensive, but it will be a lot better. A drinking safe water hose for towing, the Anderson hitch like that we had just talked about, and we can do a whole episode on that and the tow vehicle and all that.
Yes, absolutely we can.
We won't get into that whole thing because that's a whole nother episode. Wheel chocks, the electrical cord that comes with the RV. Make sure to get dog bones with it, and then get a EPO or surge protector.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be the Watchdog. Can be another thing. You can do your own research, but my favorite on any of that would be the Power Watchdog.
Yes.
So, if you're still with us here at the very end of this episode, we thank you for listening, and we hope that you go and comment down and
Yes, comment down below.
And let us know any other RV gear and essentials that you think from RVing for day one essentially. Essentially.
Essentially.
So, yeah, make sure to comment down below if you liked the video or liked the podcast. Go ahead and make sure to hit the like button and then go ahead and subscribe to us. And we hope to see you on our next podcast.